Hello, everyone. Welcome to Our Stories, Turning the Page, a storytelling series hosted by Disability Lead. My name is Claire Killey. I'm the Education and Learning Services Manager at Disability Lead. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm a white woman with curly brown and gray hair, wearing a black shirt and sitting in front of a blurred background. Today's program includes ASL interpretation and CART or real-time captions. You can access captions directly in Zoom by clicking Show Captions at the bottom of your screen, or you can utilize the stream text link in the chat if you prefer to view captions in a separate browser. If you have any questions or require technical assistance, please send a direct chat to DisLead Support. Lastly, while the chat is set for messaging hosts and panelists only, we encourage you to utilize the reactions icon at the bottom of your screen throughout the program to show support and encouragement for our storytellers today. Feel free to test that out now if you'd like to show us a reaction about how excited you are to be here today with us and our storytellers. Thank you. We're so pleased to welcome you for one of our most beloved programs, Storytelling with Disability Lead members. In the words of Alice Wong, storytelling is a chance to know ourselves better, to really question who we are, where we've been, and who we want to be. We are so fortunate to have three incredible and talented Disability Lead members featured today: Laura Issacs, Chaitanya Manchanda, and Tina Lowry. I want to thank each of them for their willingness to share their personal experiences of navigating different disabilities in an ableist world and their own personal journeys of self-acceptance. Finding the right words requires labor and vulnerability, but the results can be a catalyst for change. Stories of disabled people, though they may not be widely told or known, are universal. They are human and they connect all of us, those who identify as disabled and those who do not. You joined us today to listen to stories of humanity, to support Laura, Chaitanya, and Tina because they're your friends, your colleagues, your neighbors, your loved ones. Maybe they're total strangers, but you are interested in hearing their ideas and the journeys that they've endured. At this time, I'm pleased to welcome our first storyteller to join me on screen. Please welcome Laura Issacs. We'll give a moment here for Laura to get on screen. Great. Thank you. Welcome, Laura. We look forward to hearing your story.
Thank you, Claire. My name is Laura Issacs. My pronouns are she, her. I am a plus size Black woman with dark brown and gray curly hair that is all piled on top in a puff today. I am wearing a green shirt with black glasses with white trim across the top, and my background is blurred. And this is my story. I was a spoiled child. While my cousins were getting school clothes on layaway from Kmart, mine came from places like Marshall Fields and Nordstrom. Spring and summer brought trips to Woodfield Mall for new clothes. I especially loved going to the Jessica McClintock store for Gunny Sacks dresses. Beautiful prairie style dresses with delicate lace details and pearl buttons. Almost every outfit had a matching coat. My senior year of high school, we went to a cultural event. While I don't remember if it was the ballet or theater, I remember exactly what I wore: a navy blue and red plaid pleated skirt with a red blazer and a white blouse with a navy blue ankle-length coat with a red lining. Even as a small child, every occasion brought a new outfit: Easter, Christmas, Mother's Day. I especially loved Easter outfits as my favorite color is pink, and it was always a pink dress with a matching coat. I remember one Christmas, I got the most beautiful organza tiered dress. It was off-white with green silk trim around the tiers and was covered in tiny gold stars. The twirlability was off the charts. One day, my mom, Two of her friends and I spent the morning and afternoon shopping on North Michigan Avenue for dresses for a luncheon and high school graduation. I remember being in the Marshall Field shoe department and seeing the most beautiful black patent leather flats. They had a slightly pointed toe with slim cutouts on the side and tiny gold buckles. The minute I saw them, I knew I had to have them, but they were over $100, and my mother was hesitant to spend that amount of money. I lost it and basically had a 17-year-old tantrum in the shoe department, and she conceded. I loved those shoes. They were so soft and comfortable in the way that pricier shoes sometimes are. I held on to those shoes for years. I was a spoiled child, or so I was told. There was never a shortage of new clothes or toys or even an Atari video game system, but I didn't feel spoiled. Instead, I felt terrified, specifically of my parents. The one thing I wanted most was emotional support. I needed verbal confirmation that I was loved and cared for and that I was safe. I remember I was about 6 years old and had a nightmare that my mother had abandoned me. I woke up screaming for my mother and I asked her if she loved me. Her response was, "Stop being silly and don't scare me like that again." She was unpredictable. One day she'd be tolerant and wanting to do things together. Other times it seemed like she hated that I even existed. If I got four A's and a B, I was berated for the B. If I had cleaned the entire apartment but forgot to vacuum, I got yelled at for not vacuuming. Her approval was always just out of reach. She would call when she was on her way home from work, and I was distressed the entire hour or more it took her to drive from Schaumburg back to the west side of Chicago. What was going to get me in trouble next? My mother has this uncanny ability to look at you like something on the bottom of her shoe. I have very few memories of my life before the age of 26, but I remember those looks. My father didn't live with us, and he was abusive in his own but different way. I had no safe space. Now I know that what I experienced, the pit of dread in my stomach and pacing until she got home, was anxiety. After several years of therapy, a string of failed relationships, and a psychiatric hospitalization, I was finally diagnosed with borderline personality disorder 7 years ago. Borderline personality disorder, or BPD, is a mental health condition characterized by difficulties regulating emotion, unstable relationships, and a distorted self image. Individuals with BPD may experience intense mood swings, fear of abandonment, and impulsive behaviors. Getting this diagnosis and doing the work helped me understand why I went from bad relationship to bad relationship. I was longing for the emotional validation that had been lacking in my life for so long. I was desperate for someone to tell me they loved me and would never leave me, but none of it was real. It was all transactional, and when I stopped sacrificing my needs for their happiness, the relationships inevitably ended. I now understand how impulsivity is also a struggle for me. I would spend all my money on things for a dopamine rush, but not be able to pay rent or utilities. I cannot count the number of times my electricity was disconnected because I decided to take a vacation or go on a shopping spree instead of paying bills. And I had a temper. I could go from calm to enraged in seconds. I'll never forget a situation where I had a coworker who antagonized me beginning the day I started working there. She'd make comments about my ability to do my job. She would call me Lori instead of Laura, which I hate. Almost weekly, she was doing or saying something to get under my skin. On this particular day, I was incredibly busy and not in the mood. She made a comment about me not wanting to do my job when I was unable to answer someone's question as it was outside the scope of my job. I lost it. I flew into a profanity laced rage and called her everything but a child of God. I was, of course, fired, and it wasn't the first or last time something like that would happen. Since then, I've worked on a weekly basis with my therapist, doing dialectical behavioral therapy to help manage my emotions and impulsiveness, as well as just learning who I am as a person and learning to live as that person. I learned that my sensitivity was not a bad thing. I learned that I had the right to stand up for myself and set boundaries for myself. I've learned that I actually was a good parent and I have a son who loves me just as I am. I learned that I'm deserving of the love and care that I was so desperate for all those years ago. And I've learned that sharing the story of my mental health journey has been so helpful to countless people with mental health conditions and the people who love them. I also take medication to help manage my conditions. I have since learned to look for cues that a crisis may be coming and how to manage them so that I don't damage my reputation at work and, more importantly, my personal relationships. A few months ago, I was on Facebook looking for an old friend and noticed that I had a message from a former high school classmate. All it said was happy birthday, and it was 4 months old. I almost ignored it, but decided to thank him instead. He responded almost immediately, and we began chatting on a regular basis and really connected. As it turns out, he'd had a crush on me back in high school and was still interested in pursuing a relationship. It has been a whirlwind, but it is also a truly authentic friendship. And then BPD came down on me like a tsunami. I don't even remember what he said to trigger the outburst, but the tirade was of epic proportions. It's like an out of body experience. I can see it happening, but there's nothing I can do to stop it. I actually don't remember exactly what I said, but he was hurt and was ready to end our relationship. I apologized as sincerely as I could, but it was out of my hands. One thing therapy has taught me is that just like no one else can control my emotions, I couldn't control his. A few days later, the day before Mother's Day, he forgave me. He said that I reminded him that real love is choosing each other again and again, even when it's hard. Hmm. He's in the process of moving back to Chicago from Atlanta so we can be together. I now feel loved and safe, not just because of him, but because I have so much more trust in myself and my choices. I can't predict the outcome of our relationship, but I hope we will continue to choose each other and by extension ourselves for many years to come. Thank you.
Laura, thank you so much for sharing your story with us. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Claire.
Lots of loves coming your way from the audience here that we can see. Thank you. Thank you. At this time, I would like to invite our next storyteller to join me on screen, Chaitanya Manchanda.
Thank you, Claire.
Hi,
Hello.
welcome, Chaitanya.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Chaitanya Manchanda, and my pronouns are he and him. I'm a South Asian male with black-gray hair, wearing a blue shirt and sitting against a blurred white background. I also wear dark spectacles and black cochlear implants. This is my story. Let them stare. My journey to acceptance. Let them stare endlessly to the heart's content. Not the first time and won't be the last. until they truly realize why inclusion and acceptance of others creates stronger bonds and brings harmony in society. A new semester begins in September, and my college campus looks colorful with leaves changing every passing day. I wake up feeling more excited with the weather, the crisp air, the changing colors, and bright sunny days as I gear up to start my senior year in college in Windsor, Canada. It is a Tuesday. I'm walking to campus with coffee in my hand and a light bag with books, rushing to grab one of the front row seats. The climbing plants sneak through the century-old windows of the environmental science building, where a small classroom with outdated furniture was quickly filling up with 50 art students eager to learn their algorithms. As we all begin to settle down, the door opens when a tall, elderly man in his 60s enters, sporting curly hair and a long gray beard. His dark cardigan gave me the glimpse of a renowned physicist exhausted from all the research he did over the years and suddenly decided to get back into teaching. I made my way to the podium to meet with a professor one on one and quickly introduced myself with excitement and handed him a sealed envelope. It was a crisp white envelope with the university seal and the receiver's name on the front. My professor demonstrated a sense of urgency as he quickly read through the contents of the letter. I feel optimistic and revitalized, prepared to comment the semester with a fresh perspective. The preceding years were notably demanding. I learned over the semesters gone by that my accommodations were not a one size fits all and needed continuous tweaking. Since every class setting and method of teaching was unique, I had to deal with new challenges. For example, working on labs independently versus working in groups of 4 to 5 students. As someone heavily reliant on lip reading, professors did not know they had to keep the lights on or face me when speaking. Each scenario required a new, untested tactical solution, and it was an uphill challenge for my professors who were sometimes very reluctant to cooperate and adapt. One way I could get them to understand was through role play. I would ask my professor to join me in an empty classroom for 10 minutes, and when the roles were reversed, they suddenly understood the challenges. But today, I possess a renewed sense of confidence, enabling me to navigate my challenges more effectively. As I sat down in the front row, the class began with an introduction and overview and the customary housekeeping rules. Subsequently, the professor made an abrupt announcement to the class. He politely stated the need for a note taker on this course, specifically pointing to me where I sat. As he concluded his statement, I noticed other students were looking directly at me. My heart was racing, my mind was confused, and I did not know how to react. Considering that in all the courses taken so far, professors would make this request without identifying me. I was angry and upset at this point. I felt like I committed a crime or did something shameful, and before the punishment was handed out, I was getting continuous stares. What did I do wrong? Why is everyone behaving as if they have never seen a deaf person before? Now that my identity was out in the open, I yearned for some normalcy, like someone tapping me on the shoulder and wanting to be friends, or someone mentioning that they would like to help. I choked, trying to process all that had happened. A few minutes later, I glanced at my watch, wondering how much time remained for this class. It was one of the longest 75 minutes of my life, sitting patiently and waiting for this to be over. My mind was fuzzy. I was trying to come up with ways to escape this situation. With all these thoughts in my mind, I still did not have a live note taker. My hearing was limited, and I could barely lip read a long bearded professor. That night, as I looked through my window at the sun settling down, I wondered where I truly belonged. The widening gulf between how I experienced the world and how others did. With my family 8,000 miles away in India, I felt isolated with no one to share my frustrations with. The new friends I made in Canada didn't know I'm deaf, though it might have been apparent with my speech was not what they were used to. So how did I get there in the first place? I was a happy kid with a lot of curiosity and a strong desire to learn. When I suddenly lost my hearing at the age of 5, it came as a shock to my parents. I grew up in India and was mainstreamed in a Catholic school. There were no reasonable accommodations or individualized education programs, IEPs. In India, the word deaf unfortunately acquired a negative connotation. This was rooted in societal misconceptions about a deaf person's functional abilities and a general lack of awareness. Instead of appreciating the inherent strengths of deaf individuals, deafness was primarily understood as a medical impairment that couldn't be fixed. Every April, when the new school year began, not only was I burdened by the weight of my backpack, but also by the difficulty of listening and comprehending new things and situations. In each of my classes, my gaze was fixed on the facial expressions and gestures of my teachers, making sure I could lip read word by word and construct a sentence quickly. And it was exhausting. It took my parents a couple of years to come to terms with my disability and witness my development, and I could not fully grasp the impact my disability would have on my life as an independent individual. Living in any country poses numerous challenges, from cultural nuances to languages to norms, and I was no different. I grew up in India, studied in Canada, and I'm now working in the United States. When I left India for Canada after high school, I did not recognize the various aspects of my identity and how I was being perceived. I'm a person of color, a person of South Asian origin, and a person with a disability. The excitement of starting college in Canada and embracing a new culture was quickly overshadowed by a significant fear. Wearing my hearing aid in public and figuring out how to disclose. I'd often sit in the front row, or if a friend approached, I had discreetly remove and hide my hearing aids. My confidence, I'd often sit alone in the front row, or if a new friend approached, I'd discreetly remove and hide my hearing aid. My confidence in communicating without them or without disclosing my disability was absolute. Yet this conviction was fueled by a deep-seated fear of losing my friends or being judged and isolated. The extrovert within me who thrive on social connection was unknowingly battling against a self-imposed isolation. My parents had sent me to Canada for the hope of acceptance. As soon as I graduated high school, they boldly threw me into the ocean and sent me across one, watching me battle the strong currents and swim to the shore safely and independently. Equality in education and inclusivity was something my parents believed, would only be possible when one is in the right environment. Yet there I was, afraid for my college friends to know I was dead, and reeling after having been outed by my professor in front of the whole class. I decided to take stock of the situation and act instead of crying. The next day, I visited the professor and confronted him politely for clarification and closure, knowing well that dwelling in the past was futile. He looked up, his eyes wide open, and paused for a moment before subtly apologizing for what happened the previous day. His words were, I'm preparing you for the harsh realities of the world. You will face many more challenging situations, and you need to be strong. Your hearing loss will always be a part of you, but what matters is how you navigate life. Be open, vocal, and proud of your identity. My hearing loss is an inherent piece of me today, a constant. I'm stepping out of this experience not just different, but stronger, assured, and ready for more hurdles. It dawned on me unless I embrace self acceptance, I cannot demand that from anyone else. This was the first pivotal step I needed to take. As the semester wore on, bringing colder winds and dwindling daylight, I stood a little taller, tempered by this whole journey. The buzz of new algorithms and advanced theories evaporated, leaving a quiet, firm determination in its wake. My initial excitement might have vanished, but the shift inside me felt more permanent. Those meaningful words spoken by the long bearded professor left a mark on me, and I was irrevocably changed. It was the defining moment of what my life would be today. I no longer felt like I had something to be ashamed of. Let them stare. Those continuous stares that were once like burning holes gradually lost their heat and flickered out like old embers. While lip reading provided me with a lifeline in conversations, I felt I needed more than just a partial solution. I yearned for that immersive classroom experience that others had, the effortless ease of collaborating on group work, and to truly belong within social circles. I needed a broader strategy for genuine engagement. So I learned to navigate conversations by the currents of visual cues, the nuanced facial expressions, and perceptive hand gestures to truly see what others were saying. My internal compass for empathy and cultural context became my most reliable guide, transforming listening from a challenge into a rich, multi-layered experience. Learning to use this holistic approach to understanding conversations is what it took for me to evolve into the person I am today. While I'm still sometimes struggle in group conversations, the crushing weight of accepting myself has evaporated. It wasn't until I learned to listen with more than just my ears that I truly began to understand the world around me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chaitanya. Lots of support pouring in for you as well. We appreciate you. Thank you for sharing your story. At this time, I'm pleased to welcome our next storyteller, Tina Lowry, to join me on screen. Give a moment for Tina. There we go. Tina, welcome. We look forward to hearing your story.
Thank you, Claire. Hello, my name is Tina Marie Lowry. I go by the pronouns she, her. I am a white woman with brown hair and dark glasses. Today, my background is blurred. Here's my story. This story didn't begin as mine. It started as a book written about me, but not by me. A thick book that kept getting bigger each year, filled with observations, full of labels, full of pages that said who I was, how I acted, and what I struggled with. And none of it was written in my handwriting or my words. One page praised me for being gifted, for solving problems faster than anyone else, for using words that adults weren't expecting from someone of my age. I was a little professor or a walking encyclopedia. But turn the page and I became difficult, non-compliant, disruptive. I was the contradiction no one knew what to do with. I saw patterns others missed. I spoke with precision. I asked why and then why again. But when I saw as insight, others saw as attitude. What I called focus, others called obsession. What I felt was too much noise, others said was just life. Each year, the book grew. It didn't just hold test scores and goals, it was filled with behavior charts, meeting notes, and the words, I never got to choose. The words stay with me longer than any grade or diagnosis. Everyone else is dealing with the noise and lights. Why can't you? You're too smart to act like this. It's not that big of a deal. You're overreacting. You need to stop using autism as an excuse. You don't look autistic. If you can memorize all of those facts, you can learn to behave too. If you just tried harder, you'd fit in. You know, I'm going to have to document this. Behind all of the words is the documentation in my book. They said it was a roadmap to success, but to me, it felt like a record of everything I was told not to be. I would say something wrong. Out came the book. A classmate could say the same thing and they didn't have a book. I would flinch at a loud noise. Out came the book. A classmate that made the loud noise didn't have a book. I got frustrated because everyone was so loud during math class. Out came the book. The classmates being loud, none of them have a book. I just want to do math. Why are you taking out my book? Please put my book away, please. I didn't mean to say that. I didn't mean to do that. I just want it to be quiet while I'm doing my math. Can I just work on this by myself? The rest of the people in the group aren't going to be nice to me. Please, I'm sorry. I am so sorry. I'm sorry. I am so sorry. I didn't mean to. Every morning, I woke up trying my hardest to fit in. And every night, I went to bed knowing I hadn't. One afternoon, after coming home in tears, exhausted and defeated, my papa looked at me and said gently, "You can do anything as long as you put your mind to it." He said it like it was the simplest thing in the world. For me, it lit a flame. I didn't want to apologize anymore. I wanted people to see what I could do. I wanted them to see what I was capable of. I wanted them to know how much I tried each and every day. That night, I started a list of all the things I wanted to put my mind to, a list of things I wanted to accomplish. First up, I decided I would give a speech at my 8th grade graduation. I spent years being a good student, earning awards to be a straight A student. I earned awards for being one of the top students in math, science, computers, and music. Eventually, the school asked for students to submit speeches. I submitted mine and was accepted as the student speaker. But soon after, the book showed up again, noting how I failed to be part of the group assigned in freshman year biology lab to identify different leaves. That was one of the first projects that year. I decided I wanted to be drum major. I watched how the current drum majors conducted themselves and led the marching band. I could play multiple instruments and quickly worked my way to section leader. And then I got stuck there until my senior year. I was finally picked. I finally was chosen to lead the marching band. We won so many awards that year and best drum majors at state. But the book showed up again, documenting how I plugged my ears when classmates were talking too loud. It didn't matter what I did, the book was there. Win the science fair, book. Make National Honor Society, book. So I felt a sense of relief when high school graduation came, as that was the end of my supports. And with it, the book. I put my mind to going towards my bachelor's degree, Marquette University, here I come. Then a master's degree, Northwestern University, let's go. College was the first time I felt like the book might be closed. There was no more checking in or meetings, no more people writing paragraphs or tracking data about me, no more forms reminding me of where I felt or fell short. For the first time, I got to decide what my life looked like. Mass was on Tuesday nights at St. Joan of Arc Chapel because the chapel was smaller, or I went on Sundays at 4 p.m. because that was Father Fast. That wasn't his actual name. You could get in and out in 30 minutes or less, or you got your donation back. Studying things that fascinated me and made my brain come alive, I got to form habits of eating when I was hungry, sleeping when I was tired, and exercising when I wanted to because the gym was open 24 hours. I got to study anywhere I wanted to, from under a tree where I had to share my lunch with a squirrel to a quiet corner in the stacks of the library, to the picnic tables at the local pub. Sitting in lecture halls, knowing I belonged. I started to believe I can do this. I'm putting my mind to it and I can really do this. I thought the book was gone for good. But then it showed up again. Not as school support, not as a file in the front office, but as something called a performance review. I was excited to be working, finally putting all that education and effort into something meaningful. But then I read the comments about me. Wonderful potential. She is not socially savvy. Great with technology, but struggles with social dynamics of work. Doesn't understand the politics of the workplace and will bulldoze others' priorities. Suddenly, I was 7 again, stimming under the fluorescent lights. I was 11 again, giving away all of my crayons so people would like me. I was 15 again, hiding between the band room doors at lunch because people. But now I'm an adult. Now the noise wasn't just in the lunchroom, it was in the workplace, yet the same people that are loud are the ones who tell me to be quiet. Now it's unexpected phone calls that make my skin crawl like an unexpected doorbell at night. The same people calling me are the ones who tell me to only use email or chat to get a hold of them. Now it's unexplained calendar invites that send my heart racing. The same people who send me unclear, unexpected meeting notices require me to be detailed in my explanations of why I scheduled a meeting. I am told to take time composing emails, to be thoughtful, to think about the recipient, but others fire emails back and forth in conversation like the email inbox is a chat room. Why can't I just be me? This personality, this focus, this intensity, they are not flaws. They are the reason I succeed. Why can't I be in charge of my own book? This is my story. And like my papa always told me, I can do anything as long as I put my mind to it. So I'll write the next chapter myself in my own voice. Because I've learned that I am not a problem to be solved. I am a person to be understood, and understanding doesn't start with fixing me. It starts with listening to me. I don't want to spend my life managing other people's discomfort. I want to live in a world where different ways of thinking aren't just tolerated, they are valued. Where passion isn't mistaken for rudeness, where silence isn't mistaken for disinterest, where focus isn't mistaken for arrogance. I've spent years trying to shrink myself to fit in. Now I'm expanding. I'm taking up space. I'm using my voice, not because this is easy, but because it matters. I've found people who care and support me. I've found a job that values all of me. The truth is, I'm not less. I'm not broken. I'm not a mistake. I'm a story, still unfolding, still growing, and still becoming. And the truth is, there are so many versions of the book. All have glances, labels, and words that start a story we carry that someone else started. Stories that start with, this is how a student acts. This is what success looks like. This is how you're supposed to dress. This is when you're supposed to speak. This is what a person is supposed to do. Just because it is a received narrative does not make it right. And maybe as you listen to my story, you started seeing the outlines of your own book. Maybe it isn't in the school's file, but rather in the way people expect you to always smile, and be agreeable. It's society's expectations and even possibly your own family's. Maybe you've been trying to fit someone else's outline for so long you forgot that you are allowed to write your own story. So let me ask you, what book is following you? Who's writing your lines? Whose expectations are shaping your story? And most importantly, when are you going to be taking back the pen? Thank you.
Tina, thank you so much. Wonderful story, and the crowd is showing you, the audience is showing you here lots of support rolling in. I'd like to keep Tina spotlit, and I'd like to invite Chaitanya and Laura to join me on screen. So we have all of our storytellers with us here. I'll give everyone a moment to rejoin. Thank you, thank you. What a lovely hour. Laura, Chaitanya, and Tina, thank you so much for your vulnerability, your authenticity. The audience is showing you so much support here, and we are so proud to have you as members of the Disability Lead Network. So thank you sincerely. I hope each of you know that someone, if not many people in this audience today, have been saved or healed or changed in some way by hearing your story. Fabulous job to each of you. I also want to thank our Disability Lead members, Teki Lumnicki and Megan Doherty, for their coaching, support, and expertise in helping our storytellers prepare their stories for today. Today's gathering is about holding people that you know or maybe don't know in your hearts and making room for their voices and their needs. This storytelling is the only way we will achieve the equitable and inclusive communities each of us yearns for. It's what is required of us as compassionate and caring citizens of this world. So thank you all for being a part of this moment with us today. To our audience, I hope you will all stay connected with us at disabilitylead.org. Please save the date for our next public program, which is the continuation of our Disability Power series coming up on August 14th at noon Central Time. And also save the date for our Disability Leadership Summit that's coming back in February on the 24th and 25th of 2026. And I am extremely thrilled to share that applications are currently open for Disability Lead's 2026 Institute, an annual fellowship for emerging leaders with disabilities. If you or someone you know identify as a disabled leader who lives or works in either Chicago or Southwestern Pennsylvania, please click the link in the chat to learn more about this exciting opportunity. Please also utilize the survey found in the chat to give us feedback about today's program. We would love to hear your thoughts. And at this time, I want to extend a final thanks to all of our storytellers, to our audience, to our ASL interpreter, and to our CART provider, Joe Gale. Thank you all for attending on behalf of the Disability Lead team. We hope you have a wonderful afternoon. Thank you.